In the world of IT, it feels like you're in this constant tug of war, right? On one side, you've got this relentless push for the newest, fastest technology. And on the other, you have the absolute need for stable, secure, and cost-effective systems. So how do you win that fight? It really all boils down to one question. You got to ask yourself, is your IT team actually built to be agile and adapt? Or is it maybe slowly becoming a museum of really specific, outdated skills? It's a tough question, for sure, but it's one every organization needs to face. Well, luckily, we don't have to guess. A new report from the Colorado-based tech firm Virtualization Options LLC actually has an answer for us. They're a technology research and advisory group, and their latest work lays out a really clear path forward. So that's what we're going to unpack today. All right, so let's set the stage here. The modern IT challenge, it's a big one. Think about it. The cloud, AI, nonstop software updates, the old way of doing things, with these walled-off, siloed teams for every little thing, it just can't keep up anymore. So what's the answer to this chaos? Well, this is where we meet the hero of our story, the technical generalist. And this isn't just some fancy new job title. No, it's a whole new way of thinking about talent in IT. And it might just be the key to real agility. Okay, so what is a technical generalist really? Think of them like the Swiss Army knife of your IT department. They have this incredibly broad knowledge across all sorts of areas: networking, software, infrastructure, you name it. And their real superpower? It's connecting all those different dots. And look, this isn't about being a jack of all trades, master of none. The report from Virtualization Options puts it perfectly. The key here is having a strong understanding of a whole bunch of different technologies. That's what lets them see the big picture and act as that crucial glue between all your different specialists. Okay, so we get what they are, but why should you care? What's the real tangible advantage here? Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because the benefits are super concrete, they're measurable, and they can absolutely transform how your IT department operates. According to the report, the value they bring really stands on 4 main pillars. You get more flexibility to handle whatever comes your way, you get faster problem solving because they see the whole system, you get way better collaboration, and, this is the big one for a lot of folks, you get reduced overhead. And the data they found to back this up, it's pretty eye-opening. Get this, a potential 90% jump in customer satisfaction scores. 90%! That is huge. And it makes perfect sense, right? When a generalist picks up a support ticket, they have a much broader context. They can solve the problem without having to pass you around to 5 different people, and they can even spot future issues before they happen. And hey, it's not just about keeping your customers happy. It's about your own team, too. The report found that companies fostering this kind of generalist culture see up to 20% higher employee retention. People just stick around when they feel like they're growing and learning, and that's exactly what this role encourages. And of course, we've got to talk about the bottom line, the money. Just look at this chart. The difference in operating costs between a traditional IT setup and a generalist model is pretty stark. You streamline things, you don't need a dozen different hyper specialists for every tiny issue, and boom, your overhead goes down. All right, so maybe you're thinking, okay, I'm in. This sounds great. But how do you actually build a team like this? It's not quite as simple as just posting a job ad. It really takes a different kind of strategy for how you hire and, more importantly, how you develop your people. This is really the heart of the challenge, finding that perfect balance. You need people with breadth, that big picture, holistic view, but you also need them to have enough depth to really get their hands dirty and solve tough problems. It's not about knowing a little about everything. It's about knowing a lot about the connections between things, and enough to be dangerous in several key areas. And here's the secret. You don't always find these people ready-made. You have to build them. The report lays out a fantastic 5-step playbook for this. You hire for curiosity and a growth mindset. You create a culture of nonstop learning. You rotate people through different assignments. You set up mentorships, and you put a huge emphasis on soft skills like communication. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Let's take a look. The report gives us a couple of great case studies that show how this plays out, from tiny startups to massive corporations. First up, let's look at the classic startup environment. You know the vibe. Fast-paced, limited cash, and every single person has to be incredibly resourceful. This is basically the natural habitat for a technical generalist. This is where generalists absolutely shine. In a startup, you'll have one person who's managing cloud infrastructure in the morning, troubleshooting software deployments after lunch, and then handling a support issue before they clock out. It's that wear multiple hats ability that makes a small team so powerful and cost-effective. Okay, now let's flip the script completely. What about a huge, established enterprise that's trying to modernize? You've got ancient legacy systems, entrenched departments, and all this complexity. It sounds like a nightmare, but this is where generalists become critical. Here, the generalist becomes a completely different kind of hero. They're the translator, the bridge builder. They're the ones who can speak legacy mainframe and cloud-native API in the same breath. They are absolutely essential for helping those big ships turn, connecting the old with the new, and getting everyone else up to speed. So, as we bring this all together, the message from the report is pretty undeniable. The future of IT isn't about digging deeper and deeper into one single trench. It's about building teams that are flexible and adaptable enough to handle anything that gets thrown at them. So, what are the big takeaways here? First, you get agility and you save money. That's a powerful 1-2 punch. Second, you get way better collaboration because you're literally breaking down the walls between teams. Third, you get ultimate flexibility. And finally, you have to see this as a real strategic shift. It's about building a more resilient, future-proof IT organization. And all of this leaves us with one final, really important question to ask ourselves and our own organizations. In a world that is changing faster than ever, is sticking to deep specialization truly a strength, or has it quietly become your biggest risk?